Hey everyone, Garrett back with The Actor's Dream. This is video 4 where we're going to be talking about creating memory palaces and loci, which is a word meaning places. Okay? This is the last video in the series of videos outlining the primary principles and techniques for the memory training system. And then after this, we're going to be going right into applying them to specific situational exercises where you can use them in your acting work. Okay? So for today, what we're going to be focusing on with the memory palace and loci is the idea that, again, like linking, it's going to be something where you're using visualization and association to connect these things. But with linking, it was image to image, right? We created those links on a chain. And with the memory palace, what we're going to be doing is connecting images to locations, right? So what I've asked Hannah and Dianza to do, and what you can do if you wanted to follow along, is in the link in the description, it takes you to the actorsdream.com documents section, and it gives you a model for creating your own mock-up of a memory palace. And so what you're going to see on that paper is 5 rooms, right? 5 empty boxes. And what you're going to be doing with those is you're going to be setting up 5 rooms and 5 locations. Well, what do you mean 5 rooms? I mean, can you imagine either your current living situation right now, your apartment, your house, your grandma's house, your house growing up, right? Can you do a visual, virtual walkthrough of that house, right? I know for me, if I imagine my childhood home, right, I can imagine walking through and there was a den and there was a piano and there was a bookshelf and then there were pocket doors and then there was the living room and then there was a couch and a love seat and a fireplace and another couch and then a TV. Does that make sense, right? So the main idea here is that you're going to be taking rooms, right? And I've set up an idea here where, for example, a living room, where there's, again, a logical sequence of locations, okay? So here we have a mock living room where there's an end table and a couch and a TV and a bookshelf and a bench. Now notice there is a logic here, right? Clockwise or counterclockwise, right? You don't want to be setting up situations where we're going to look here and then there and then here and then back there and here, right? We want to make it easy to follow those things, okay? And these want to be familiar places, familiar locations that you know like the back of your hand, right? It's hard enough memorizing lines. You don't have to want to spend a whole bunch of time memorizing the damn locations, right? And so basically what you're going to be doing here is very similar to linking. It's just a different application, right? So not image to image, image to location. So we're going to go through one exercise in this room, and then we're going to apply it to the rooms that you create or you create at home, okay? So what you're going to be doing is basically, if you were taking the old list that we learned before, the first object would be connected to the first location, the second object to the second location, third object, third location, and so on and so forth. So let me give you an example, okay? So if we were going to just take aspects of this room right here, locations in this room, and you just walk over here, I'll show you this. So remember these in order. So this stool is going to be number 1, the chair is going to be number 2, piano number 3, music stand 4, bench 5, chair 6, table 7, tripod 8, camera bag 9, and mic box 10. Okay, so we're going to start off here, and again, this is just practicing the technique, and then we're going to apply it to the rooms you've created, okay? So the idea being, if you look at that stool, and similar to the images before, you created an image and connected it to another one, right? With this, you're just going to give you one object, and you connect it to each thing, okay? So if I was going to give you the Titanic, connect that and associate that with the stool. Okay? So if you were going to do that, can you describe for me what image you see?
The stool is the iceberg.
Oh, great, great, awesome, awesome. What about you?
Model Titanic sitting on it.
Awesome, great, great. So for the second location, a shark. Can you connect a shark with the chair? And what do you see?
Like the Jets and Sharks from West Side
Oh,
Story
cool.
sitting there.
Awesome, great. What about you?
I was thinking more along the lines of Jaws.
Yeah, right, like devouring the, or like coming out of it. Great, great. And again, that's another thing that to point out, right? Everybody's going to have their own images and their own things subjectively that are meaningful or that pop. And a lot of times it's that first thought that's the best one, right? It's like, and it might be completely irrational or wrong or dirty or whatever. And guess what? Awesome. because you're going to remember it. You know what I mean? And it's yours, okay? So you have the list here, and again, for all of you at home who want to follow through there, all of these documents that they're working from, there's a link in the description. It takes you to the actorsdream.com website and our documents section. You can download that and work alongside us if you want to do that, okay? So take these 10 locations, and we've already worked through the first 2, and connect each one with the object, okay? And the other thing I'll say is really see, right? Really visualize so that when you're looking at the location, it's boom, 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 okay? Take your time for a moment, do that, let me know when you're ready, and then we'll continue on and we'll test it out. One more thing I forgot to say, just as a reminder, the same kind of spirit of the say it out loud mantra that I've been saying in the previous videos works for this too. So the tendency in this video, right, is the tendency in this method is to look at the locations silently and see them, right? Because there isn't inherently something oral. What you want to do is, as you're working through the locations, say those things out loud too, to make sure that you have those things locked in. So before we recite these, go through one more time with each location and make sure you're saying those objects out loud, okay? And then we'll get started.
Titanic, shark, giraffe, Taylor Swift, chainsaw, Michael Jackson, hay, rockets, SpongeBob, toilet.
All right, we ready to go? Awesome. Okay, who wants to go first?
I'll do it.
Awesome. So Deonza, if you can just point to each location and just say that, boom, say each object at each location.
Stool, Titanic, chair, sharks, piano, giraffe, music stand, Taylor Swift, bench, chainsaw, black chair, Michael Jackson, table, hay, tripod, Rockettes, camera bag, SpongeBob, and mic box, toilet.
Great. Hannah, go for it.
All right. Stool, Titanic, chair, shark, piano, giraffe, music stand, Taylor Swift, bench, chainsaw, chair, Michael Jackson, table, straw, stand, Rockettes, bag, SpongeBob, and mic box is toilet.
Great. So without saying the location, right, just saying the list, can you go backwards?
Okay. Toilet, SpongeBob, Rockettes, straw, Michael Jackson, chainsaw, Taylor Swift, giraffe, shark, and Titanic.
Awesome. Deonza, you go for it. Try to go backwards.
All right. Toilet, SpongeBob, Rockettes, straw, Michael Jackson, chainsaw, Taylor Swift, giraffe, sharks, Titanic.
Great. And something happened there, right? You said hay, not straw, right? So what was your image?
I had bales of hay piled together.
Right. So can you think, just without even, without any more instruction, what could you think of for that image that would solidify straw for you?
Plastic straws.
Right. Great. So, and again, that's one of those things where sometimes the literal thing is actually confusing, right? And so again, find another way in, which is, again, well, there's another one that I can use, and I can use that. It's going to be much, much easier to remember, right? So, and that's another thing too, where sometimes the first thing you associate is not the image necessarily that you need to use. And again, that's just about knowing how you learn and where you go. But again, you could fix it the next time, right? And that's the thing. We want to be able to get better. It's not that we don't make mistakes. It's not that we don't have those things. We're all going to do that, right? But knowing how to get better is the whole point, right? So we've done this version, right, this test version in this room, right? And this is the bridge to get us to these locations, right? And basically what I've done in the document that you have is asked you to set up your initial 25 locations, right? So we just went through 10. And what we're asking here is you got 5 rooms, 5 locations, right? So that means by the end of this exercise, you're going to have 25 locations you can use, but could you make 50? Could you make 100? You can expand it, you can change it, you can shift it as you see fit, right? That's the beauty of this system. The other beauty of this system, right? Do you remember the con that we identified with linking? What was the one thing we had to watch out for with linking? Do you remember?
If you miss one link, you can miss the rest.
Exactly, right? Well, the thing about locations is what? You know where every location is. So say you forget where you forget the item, or you forget the object that's here, right? Guess what you can do? Skip to 4. Boom, just go right there. Now, it's not ideal that you missed this, but the integrity of everything is much more solid. Does that make sense? Doesn't mean that one's better or worse, it's just knowing what you're working with, okay? So again, I've asked them, before we jumped into this, to create 5 rooms, 5 locations, 25 locations, all right? And the same thing is on the worksheet that if you've downloaded, you can work on it on your own. So what I'm gonna ask you to do is take those same 10 objects that we placed in this room and put them in your first 2 rooms. Does that make sense? So room 1 is gonna have object 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Room 2 is gonna have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're not even gonna get into room 3, 4, and 5 yet. We're gonna start small and build out from there, okay? So just take a moment and connect each object to a location in your rooms. When you're done, we'll come back and see how you did. All right, we're back. They have set up all of their rooms and locations, and we're about ready to test these out on the first 2 rooms, the first 10 objects, okay? So Deonza, can you give it the first try? Just put your sheet down and do your best to recite those first 10.
Okay. Titanic, sharks, giraffe, Taylor Swift, chainsaw, Michael Jackson, straw, Rockettes, SpongeBob, toilet.
Can you go backwards?
Toilet, SpongeBob, Rockettes, straw, Michael Jackson, chainsaw, Taylor Swift, giraffe, sharks, Titanic.
Great. Hannah, go for it.
All right. Titanic, shark, giraffe, Taylor Swift, chainsaw, Michael Jackson, straw, Rockettes, SpongeBob, and toilet.
Can you go backwards?
Toilet, SpongeBob, Rockettes, straw, Michael Jackson, chainsaw, Taylor Swift, giraffe, shark, and Titanic.
Great. Good job, both of you. Now, a couple things. Can you imagine, if you can't remember something, using this specific method, right? If you're going through this and all of a sudden you can't remember it, can you think of why that might happen? Knowing how you use this method.
Yeah.
Not a strong enough image.
Yes, absolutely, right? So it's not meaningful enough, it's not strong enough, it's not bold enough, it's not moving, it's static, it's too everyday, it's not imaginative enough, right? So usually, right, bigger is better and bolder, and if you can't remember something, if you're using a visual technique, make the image pop more, right? That's something, or connect it more directly to, if something is just sitting on the bench, could it be drilling a hole through it? Or breakdancing on it, or you know what I'm saying? Like, or eating a banana split on it, or whatever it is, right? Making it more memorable, okay? So a couple things. What was the experience doing the linking versus doing this? Can you compare and contrast? I'm just curious from your experience, or was it kind of 6 one, half dozen the other, a very similar process?
This definitely felt more secure.
More secure, interesting. Yeah. Because of the locations? Because there's a tangible...
Because of the locations, because in my mind, the locations are always there.
Right.
So, it's easier to link it to something that's more like solid.
Exactly, right, for you, right, and to other people, but that's great to know, right? The other thing about this too is that, does that mean you need to create all these different rooms and all these different palaces and all these, right? No, you're not learning an entire role using this method, right? One of the common things I get from students or even my peers or friends are like, oh my God, you're making so much more work, right, to learn these lines. And it's like, well, no, if you have story and logic and these other things to work on, once you learn those techniques, you can actually do things a lot faster, right? But I'm not saying, and let me be clear, that you would ever use this or linking or anything arbitrarily to do everything. Right? It's what's useful, right? To me, it's about having something practical that's useful, that saves you time, right? And the main, thrust for all of this, right, is I want to be able to give you more confidence, to reduce your anxiety, to help you learn lines faster and more correctly, right? That's the goal here, right? So the basic thing here is now you have 5 rooms, 5 locations, right? You've done 2, right? And in subsequent videos, right, as we come to the tail end of the techniques and principles portion of this series, what we're going to be doing is situational drills. So eventually we're going to be working our way into phrases instead of objects, right? Then monologues and then scenes, okay? We're going to be working with cue lines. We're going to be working with Shakespeare, monologues, non-linear text, all sorts of things. So if you've worked your way up to this point, make sure you have a solid understanding of everything up to this point. You have your 5 rooms of 5 locations, because we will use more of those. And now you can take all of this basic practical technique and principles of memory, and now we're going to apply it situationally to the videos moving forward. So thank you so much for watching these videos. I really hope they've been useful. Again, like, subscribe to the channel, spread the word, leave any comments down in the comments section. I'm Garrett again with The Actor's Dream. And if you finish this series, I hope to see you in the application and situational portion of the videos, and we can build this community together. Thanks so much.